Hello, my name is Genaya, and today I want to talk about ecological footprints, what that means, and how we can control the size of our own ecological footprints. So everything we do, every choice we make is combined into our ecological footprint. Our waste, water use, energy use, how much gas we use, it becomes a part of our footprint. It's the total human impact on the earth. So think of yourself, if you have a really big ecological footprint and everyone around you has a really big ecological footprint, it's going to be hard for everyone to stand comfortably on the earth. Canadians tend to have a larger ecological footprint, but we all have choices that we make that can determine the size of our own footprints. So the idea is that our footprint is how fast we use resources and we generate waste versus how fast nature can absorb that waste and generate new resources. So what resources do you use? Well, let's look at a few. A lot of energy. I know a lot of people use electricity. And 60% of our electricity comes from coal. And coal doesn't burn very clean. And it's one of the resources that we use a lot of. We need to have a home. Home is one of our basic needs. It's shelter. But we have to cut down a lot of trees to build homes. We have to clear land. We need to eat. So that's a big resource that we use. But sometimes when we are eating or we go purchase foods in the grocery store, we don't know exactly where they come from. It takes a lot of water to grow certain foods. It takes a lot of pesticides and a lot of gas, especially when the food isn't grown from here and it has to travel a really long distance to get to your plate. We use a lot of gas. Just driving around when we could walk or bike somewhere just uses a little bit of extra resources, especially since that type of resource can really pollute our air. Sometimes we use way too much plastic, and so even if I'm very careful, there is a chance that if plastic is littered or plastic ends up in our garbage and not recycled or reused, then it can end up doing something like this. And so plastic that we use all the time is something that maybe we don't realize we might be using too much of, as well as using too much water or wasting water and forgetting to turn off the tap when I'm done. So if I'm brushing my teeth and I leave the water running, I'm wasting glasses of water that is just going right down the sink. So when we think about our ecological footprints, it's a lot, and a lot goes into trying to figure out what we can do to shrink it. If everyone in the world had the same size footprint as we do, we would need 4.7 Earths. Do we have 4.7 Earths? No. We have one Earth, so we need to make sure that we are doing everything we can to make this Earth as healthy as possible. Now, what happens if we take too much? We cause deforestation. We cut down trees for buildings or paper, destroying habitats, as well as limiting how many trees are left to actually clean our air. We also generate too much waste, so much that it's really hard to manage, especially when people aren't sorting their garbage or finding ways to reduce and reuse first. We generate way too much plastic. Plastic takes up a lot of energy to make and a lot of water to make, and once it ends up in our oceans, it is so hard to clean up. We use too much energy. We're burning more fossil fuels, causing a lot of pollution to our air, and adding to the greenhouse effect, which is actually impacting climate change. So the greenhouse effect is when gases kind of create a blanket over the earth, and the earth gets so warm, but it can't take off that blanket. So the solar heat stays trapped within the earth and the earth starts to heat up a bit. That is climate change, and it has a lot of very powerful effects like melting ice caps, more severe storms, shifting of seasons. But we can all make choices to, again, shrink our ecological footprint to make a difference. You can all make choices to reduce your ecological footprint. So let's go over a few everyday choices, starting with turning off the lights. We're using less energy. We're switching to more efficient items like LED light bulbs so that even when we do use lights, we are consuming way less. But the biggest thing is to think about our behaviors. Do I have to have that light on? Could I maybe open the curtains so that I have more natural light? There are a lot of choices that we make before we turn everything on and leave it on all day long. We can also switch off and unplug things so that we're using less phantom power. And phantom power is power that is still being used even when something is off or you think it's off. So a charger plugged into a wall, or a TV left plugged in, or even a microwave left plugged in. A lot of things in our house are using phantom power, and sometimes we don't even know. We can walk or ride instead of using a car, and we know that gas is a resource that we use a lot, but this is a really good way to reduce it to less pollute our air, which is pretty awesome, and it uses our energy, which is so healthy for us. And it's really nice to get outside on a walk or on a bike and know that you're making a really big impact on your footprint. We can also reuse and reduce. So basically reducing how much waste that we are using, how we are getting rid of it. Using both sides of the paper is one really good way to do that. Like I mentioned, that trees are something that we end up wasting a lot of, and it is very easy to sometimes think, I don't need that piece of paper, and just throw it out, but there is a full blank other side that you can still use. So trying to reduce how much plastic, trying to reuse how much plastic, and the same with paper, they're just some simple ways to reduce our general waste. We can take shorter showers and save water. So shorter showers means that we're using less water, but also we're using less energy to heat that water up. So taking shorter showers is another really good way to reduce our footprints. And lastly, turn down the heat. So if I'm really cold, I can put on a nice cozy sweater, I can turn down the heat, get a nice blanket. There are some ways to make it fun by having sweater day, have a theme. It is up to you, but that is a way where I'm still staying nice and toasty and warm with no energy use at all. Now, if you're interested to see what your ecological footprint might look like, you can check out this awesome website to find out your own ecological footprint. It is free, and it's a little tricky. You're going to have to really think about some of the things that you're putting into it, but it will tell you basically how many Earths is needed for you to live on. So that's a really good way to look at, maybe I'm using too much of this, or maybe I can use less of that. And it kind of breaks it down for you. So that's something really fun you can do if you want to do that. But the one thing that is really, really good to do, and you can do it right now, is to create an ecological footprint pledge. And all you have to do that is take a blank piece of paper, you put it on the ground, and you trace your foot. Now, once you've traced your foot, now you have a footprint on a piece of paper. It kind of looks like this. And you can pick one thing that you're going to do to try to shrink your own ecological footprint. Now, this can be anything that I mentioned, or maybe something I didn't mention. That's up to you. But write down or draw a picture inside your footprint of what you're going to do. Hang it up somewhere so that you can remember to keep doing that and shrinking your footprint. And of course, if you ever want to draw a picture of something else, remember that the other side of the page is also empty. So you don't just have to do that one thing. Take it down. Maybe draw a picture of something you really love about the Earth. The choice is yours. So remember, the goal is just to waste less. That's how we shrink our ecological footprints. We waste less. Turning off the lights, wasting less electricity, reuse things, reduce the amount of garbage that we collect, recycle, turn off the tap, call Efficiency Nova Scotia and see what they can do to give you more energy efficient items, so that even when you do have to turn on the lights, even when you do have to use energy, you can do it in the most efficient way possible. There are so many options out there. So when you create your ecological footprint pledge, if you want to show us the amazing work that you've done, you can always send us an email, whoever is the engagement officer for your area, or you can contact us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you'd like. We're at Green Schools Nova Scotia for most, and if not, we're just at Green Schools. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me on this PowerPoint journey, and I hope that you've learned something new, and I will talk to you next time.